Welcome back to another episode of the Kings of Houston. To dissect this past week's action with me is the King himself, Steve Firth. How are you doing, Steve? Have you enjoyed the holiday?
Not doing too bad, Sam. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you.
Looks like your weather in the UK is a lot better than ours right now.
Yeah, we've had 70 degrees, sunshine for 3 days, not a drop of rain. So I've enjoyed my holiday, but have you had a good holiday?
Memorial Day was, it was the chance to relax for a little bit, and then it's straight back into a very busy, hectic week of schedule for the Royals, and catching up on what has been a very busy week last week for the men and the women. So, yeah, busy. So what's
So we've got a busy week to talk about, and we've also had a very busy week, like you've just said. So we'll kick off by talking about our ladies' team, who started off with a victory over the ECNL team by 3-0. It set them up really nicely for a thumping 5-0 win over Lone Star in the Wpsl. So it's a promising start to stay released, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was. It's one of those things where obviously we got a friendly in against our ECNL, so that was good to get the women out and kind of get a first look at them, because it's the first time we managed to get them all together. So they've been training for a little bit, but a lot of these ladies are coming back from NCAA championships and and tournaments and end of season stuff with the colleges. So it was kind of like the first opportunity to kind of get them back in. So a good chance for the coaches to kind of see where they're at and then use that week to work on some of the stuff that was needed fixing. So yeah, good start. The ECNL girls did well. They held their own as well, which was great to see. And it was also good to see like a pathway for them to see where their development needs to be from where they were to get into that Royals group. And then they showed up on the weekend here against Lone Star in their first game, and a little bit frustrating first half. Lone Star did a good job defending, got behind the ball. The ladies did a good job keeping hold of it, but struggled to break Lone Star down and missed some opportunities. And then kind of once the first goal went in the second half, the floodgates opened. The confidence came out. They were able to be creative and express themselves. Lots of goals. And obviously, as the game went along, Lone Star I think they only had one sub, so they only brought a small roster with them, probably just due to who's in town for them. And so they kind of tired as the game went on, and the Royals managed to take advantage of that. So a very good start for our Royals team in the WPSL with a big 5-0 win.
Yeah, like you said, the first half, obviously, it was kind of, they kind of shut them out. But once the first goal happened, the confidence just grew in the ladies. Like, obviously, Grace Yoakum was a standout player. Free kick came off the crossbar as well. There was loads of confidence going throughout them girls. And that certainly seems like the style of soccer Ben and Dan have instilled in them, as certainly giving them the confidence to do that and express themselves. And how did the supporters react to the first women's game of the season?
It was great. We had a wonderful crowd. We had 300 plus, so that was great. And obviously Lone Star were out there, so we had a tournament in town, so they brought some of their players as well. So that really kind of worked at the same time. So overall, it was a good crowd. I think that once the goals started going in, they really enjoyed that. And it was good. It was a good level for the players to watch. We had lots of younger players out there watching and aspiring to be on that field, so that was great.
Yeah, and we'll move on to the men's team, who had a double-header game against Texas United last week. And despite the problems with the venue, they had a change of venue and they had a change of time for the kickoff when they went on the road. But they came back with all 3 points, which is pretty impressive given the circumstances, isn't it?
Yeah, it was kind of like they were already on the bus, and the weather kind of changed the venue. They had to close down because they had a grass field, so they were searching for a turf field and found one that couldn't play at the same time. So we had to rush to get there, and I think that the guys got there maybe 25 minutes before the game. And so, rushed on the field, got a quick warm-up in. Didn't start very well, but kind of figured the game out, and managed to get a little smash and grab, and could have been more than 1-0, I think, to be honest with you. But that was a big win away from home in those circumstances. So, yeah, it was a good start to the week.
Yeah, and there was certainly some chances in the second half which could have put the game to bed as well. But testament to the players and the staff as well for adapting to the situation and coming home with the win. And in the return game, not so much later on the Friday evening, it ended in a 2-2 tie, which was always going to be tough given they just played the same opposition twice. Did you notice any differences in approach from either the Royals or from Texas United that you saw?
Yeah, it's always a difficult one, because when you play games like that, when it's 2 games back to back so quickly, you have to kind of come up with some tactics. And which players are you going to play? How do you keep momentum going? the coaching staff decided to go up to Dallas and play their strongest group, knowing that, you know, if they win that game, that they're going to want to probably play the same team in the second game. But will that team, you know, have enough energy to get through a whole game? I think Texas United looked at it a different way, and they changed the formation and their players in the second game. I think there was 10 different players started the second game compared to the first, and a slight change in formation. And tactically, that just took the Royals quite a long time to kind of figure that out. So that was one of the major issues with the second game, was it took the Royals a good to the first half to kind of figure out, you know, how they needed to adapt to change to that game. Did a good job in the second half. They were 1-0 down at halftime to a penalty. Did a good job in the second half getting back into that game and leading 2-1. And then obviously the issue just came near the end of the game. They, you know, a sloppy couple of goals that were given away that ended up in a 2-2 tie. You know, and I think a little bit of fatigue and tired legs kind of accustomed to that. But it's a shame, because I think that if you look at the way that men's played right now, in every game they've been in it, and realistically they could be 4-0 right now. So, you know, rather than having 2 wins and 2 ties, they could have won every game, which is, you know, because we've given goals away in sloppy situations. So that's the frustration, I think, from our end. Yeah,
exactly. And how were the supporters during that game as well? Were they right behind the team, out in numbers?
No, they did a good job. And I think for the men, it's been difficult because every game's been bad weather. So we seem to, that as soon as a men's game's announced and the game starts and the referee blows his whistle, it starts raining, or there's storms in the area. So, you know, obviously the crowds, it's not been as big for the men. And you know, and if people don't want to show up, obviously because of the weather, that's very understandable. So hopefully, I mean, this week doesn't look great for the weather. We've got a game this week, so fingers crossed it clears up and we can get everybody out here. But, you know, the people that are showing up are enjoying it, so that's great.
I say fingers crossed for this week, because we have a hugely important game for our USL2 side this week. And we're facing the table-topping clash with Mississippi Brille. So this is a game which the Royals can really make a statement and get the 3 points and go top of the league.
It's a huge game. Yeah, Breer have won all their games and are top of the league, and we're right up there in second. So it's kind of a little bit of a statement game. I think that Breer team have got a lot of depth and some really good players, and they've been doing this for a number of years. They've actually won it before in the past, so they really know kind of what they're doing and how to go about, you know, the USL too. So yeah, it's a massive game for the Royals this week, and one that, you know, they have to look at seeing if they can find and adapt and tactically find a way to win that game. So it's going to be, you know, hopefully a coaching masterclass.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be good to make Campbell Road a fortress as well, get a big crowd down, cheer on the guys. And we've also got a couple of road games this week for our Wpsl side. The first one against the Houston Aces, and then San Antonio and Surf. So it's important to build on the strong start they had last week. And do you know anything about the opposition that they'll be facing?
A little bit. The Aces obviously are in town. The interesting thing about the game against the Aces, which were away, is that we're for the Aces game. So, you know, that's good. So the girls will be used to the surface. Nothing changes there. That Houston Aces team have always been a strong group. So that should be a good game, and it's one of those local rivalries that we want to, you know, jump out and try and show that we're the best team in Houston. Don't know too much about the San Antonio team. They're new into it this year, so, you know, haven't seen any you know, video on them or anything that's going on. So that's kind of a little bit of an unknown quantity. I think with the women, though, I firmly believe that's a strong group that we've got, and we really need to kind of push our style of play and our tactics on the other team and make them adapt rather than, you know, worry about what other people are doing. So I think if the women stick to how they want to play and be aggressive and be tactically, you know, attacking minded, then I think they're going to be very difficult for anybody to stop them. So that's kind of how the women should look, you know. And on the men, it's a little bit more, in some of those games, it's a little bit more tactical, and they have to adapt a little bit sometimes to the style of the other team, rather than enforce their own style in some of those games.